So it is my final day with my final push heading that way up those mountains to get to the source. I start off again on a busy road, but I've spent the morning going around this delightful village behind me with the not so delightful name of Hawes. I got a few bits for lunch, saw a remarkable waterfall. It was only about my height, but the way it went over these really jaggedy rocks, it was fascinating. So now I'm easily fascinated. And also, there may be a lot of cloud behind me, but there's quite a lot of blue sky in front of me. I'm looking to have some pretty good weather today. Well, I can guarantee for like the next half hour, because when you're this high in the Pennines, yeah, the weather changes every 5 seconds. But it's not supposed to rain, so at most I'll get little bits of drizzle, probably five times for 5 or 10 minutes today. Anyway, it's my shortest day, but it's gonna be my toughest. I gotta climb those things in the distance. But just look at this place. A spectacular scenery and the few houses there. So I've now made it to Apperset, and here one of the many brooks, this one being the Widdelbeck, flows in to the behind me there. And there's also near here, where a product of many men with great ambition and large bank accounts enlisted the work of many, many more men with much smaller bank accounts to build railways in these incredibly rural parts. And despite being very sparse and, according to some Victorians, scary, the rail race during the Victorian era was beyond on. It was on fire. And about maybe 2 kilometers south of here is a viaduct for a railway that went all the way through here, through Wensleydale, of which part of it is still open as a heritage line. Although I doubt it's going to be a proper passenger line anytime soon, because Hawes is the biggest place here and it's only got 1,000 residents. And there are towns like Dudley, and before that, even here in Yorkshire, there are towns like Cleckheaton and the Holme Valley. Well, that's a valley, not a town. And Ripon, that don't have a train. So get them first, and maybe in 2060 we'll see a train through here again. And then back over the Ouse, another much smaller but very pretty bridge. I think that was crossing number 9. I've lost count at this point. It's probably something like 15 if you include all the times I've crossed in York. But I don't think my bike will be crossing it again. Cotterdale Beck to the left, the earth to the right, and in the middle, a very tired me with a weird tuft of hair down the middle of my forehead, heading to the top of a very steep Pennine. But for the views, even though the top is still back behind me, are spectacular. So that's what happens when you leave a Magnum unrefrigerated, or well, unfrozen, for 24 hours. It turns into a sponge. I'm still gonna eat it. So it looks some curds separated for some way. It leaked on the floor. But it still tastes just like a Magnum, just warmer. With these curds, I can make one of them Yorkshire pies I had in Selby a couple of days ago. I did not expect to see that fly down the valley. I saw one of them fly above this morning. It was so near. Someone built this little cave that you probably don't want to sit in. Because, was it a well? Oh, it's very damp. So, looking down in this valley, the avid rail enthusiast in me was a little mistaken. I don't think you can see it, but somewhere down there is a rail viaduct. As soon as I caught eyes on it, I was like, huh? Thinking it was the Ribblehead viaduct. Then suddenly, brain kicked into gear, remembering it's, I think, another 10 miles down there. However, the viaduct, you may just be able to about see somewhere behind me here. Maybe a lot smaller, but it has a much funnier name. It is called the Moorcock Viaduct. Maybe named by a very sexually... a woman with much sexual prowess, or a gay man with much sexual prowess. Who the fuck knows? It probably has nothing to do with dick, and more to do with chickens. And also it's more as in this thing behind me. You know, maybe there was there's a forest shaped like a cock in the south of Scotland. Maybe there's a moor shaped like a cock further down the dale there. I have not been short of seeing them all around the place. And just look at some of the wild roads they get to drive. In fact, they managed to carve this thing straight off the side of the hill. But then you've got this all zigzagging. And tons of little tracks just all crisscrossing between all these little huts and old farmhouses you see scattered around the place. And then, besides all these tall, rugged, empty, barren mountains, as I said earlier, there's a railway! Being up on this ridge. And seeing all these mushrooms, which seem to be of a similar species, but all different colours. I wonder if they're psychedelic. Train! So, join me in, I think, an abandoned farmhouse, which I don't really think can have the title house anymore. It's ruins. But oddly enough, this has been a rare occurrence on my travels so far. Almost every building I've passed has still been whole and used. And I can understand why. You could say it's a shame that these have reached their end, but I mean, the top of the hill is not far to my east there. That is not grazing land. The grass is barely yellow. And maybe in a time gone by, this land was more arable and productive. But as you can see past now, there's a few wooden poles in there. Yeah, people moved on. I wonder how long this has been derelict for, because this probably was built 300-400 years ago. and the residents packed up, maybe moved to another plot, maybe moved to Leeds. Who knows? So apparently on OS Maps, this little building, former building here, was marked as a kiln. But most of the ground I've been walking on has been seemingly, I think this, is it limestone? I'm not quite sure what rock this is. It's certainly not clay, and this ground is certainly not made of any clay. It's either squelchy soil or this hard rock. And there's no decent transport link here either. I mean, there is over there, but getting down the hill here, how did this operate? There eventually comes a time with each river where I retire the bike, because here we have the Ur. I've been following a top here, a couple hundred meters from its course down in the valley there, to avoid the road, but it's taken a sharp turn to the... It takes a sharp turn to the left on the way down, i.e. right for me. And the source is somewhere vertically up, no, not vertically up, but may feel like it, but is up this mountain here. It's not just a native path. So definitely not taking the bike, but I'm gonna walk it. Wish me luck. But first, lunch, which consists of eggs from Yorkshire, bread probably from Yorkshire, cress probably from the south, and avocados probably from Mexico. This has been a trap. Hopefully not me. So I eventually found the path, or a path. Again, slightly higher up than the river itself. And that's where I have to go. There it is again, cascading down the hillside. 500 meters to go. Someone's out of breath. Up there, that's Lunds Fell, at the top of it. I'm on the side of it, and that should mark the top. 666 meters tall. Interesting height. I've just come off all this not from the valley down below, a little further up. Wow. I'm getting sidetracked by the view. There's another deep gorge there. Oh, this landscape is so wondrous. Anyway, yeah, I made it up there to some very squelchy bog, which seems to be the source of the River Ouse / Ur. But I made it! And there isn't a single thing anywhere near me apart from there's a farm down there, and luckily a railway line so I can get home. But I made it. I completed what I set out to do, and my feet aren't stuck, so I'm not gonna head back down. Okay, I think heading back down is gonna be harder than the trek up. I'll manage. Its first trickles. Little does it know that come a few hours, days, this little trickle We'll be heading all the way down here, joined by 10 to 20 other rivers worth of water, flowing through some of our most historic cities and our smallest. And out into the ocean, past Kingston upon Hull, into the North Sea. And maybe we'll get mashed up in some waves and crash on a Norwegian beach. This seems to be the first bits of the river that kind of flow, as opposed to just trickle in some grass. I just took a piss, so it was probably from water from the river. So hopefully you enjoyed its first time down Wensleydale, because it's going to be going down there a second time. Train's back. Oh, it went again. That's such an interesting rock formation. I mean, it probably is a result of mining. But now the dilemma is Old Bridge, which still looks perfectly fine, or New Bridge, which I imagine was built because it's wider, and there seems to be some industrial work up there where I just came from. This is some forestry, and there's a farm. Of course, I had to go Old Bridge. I've crossed like 10 of these past few days. And here we are. This is the viaduct I saw from atop there, the Moorcock Viaduct. But their deceiving name. It probably was about a moor and a chicken, because again, yellow grass. Although I don't see any chickens, and there's certainly no cock around here, apart from mine. So this statue of a dog, I thought it maybe came from a certain station on the other side of Yorkshire. But it turns out it was the name of this dog, who was a signatory on the petition to keep this line, the Sale and Carlisle Railway, open in the 80s. So after 4 days of trekking from one side of Yorkshire to the other, I have finally made it to Garsdale Station here on the border with Cumbria. In a few minutes I'll be getting my train down to Leeds and eventually back to London. It has been a spectacular few days. I did love doing the 7, but this may top it as being my favourite river expedition I've done. I see so many great cities, tons of lovely villages, our smallest city, 2 magnificent cathedrals, lots of amazing food. Oh, and the people. I spent the past 2 days in everybody's happy to chat with you country. Oh, but now I see the train is coming.